Hello, and welcome back to the Beauty in the Real podcast. I am so glad you're here. My name is Rhonda, and I love getting the opportunity to highlight for you women who are living a quiet faith, not not the authors and the speakers and the podcasters and the influencers, but the women who are faithful in the small things, which sometimes turn into the really big things. And so today I am excited to share with you a conversation, one that feels deep and tender and incredibly honest. I'm sitting down with a woman named Faith who grew up as a missionary kid and is now serving as a missionary in Thailand alongside her husband. She's been there for the past 10 years, raising three boys, including her oldest, who is autistic. And at the same time, she is working as a personal trainer. So, in this episode, we talk about what missionary life actually looks like, not just the highlight reel. We talk about motherhood in another culture and with special challenges. And we talk about the sacred stretching of parenting a child with autism. We talk about grief, including the deep pain of losing her mom. At one point, Faith reflects on Psalm 42:7, which says, "Deep calls to deep." And I think that as she describes what that means to her, you will also find it incredibly encouraging. This conversation is about calling, endurance, surrender, and honesty with God, and a quiet strength that sometimes forms in those hidden places. If you are walking through a season that feels deep right now, whether it's motherhood or ministry, or maybe your own grief, or just the daily stretching of life and faith, I pray that this episode reminds you that you are not alone. So let's lean in and listen. Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Beauty in the Real podcast. As I mentioned today, I am joined by a really incredibly beautiful and amazing woman. Her name is Faith, and Faith is coming to us all the way from Thailand. Hi, Faith.
Hello. I'm glad to be here.
Thank you so much. I actually met Faith through Instagram, and a while back, I had shared just something about my workout routine and trying to get better about that. And Faith, among many other things, she is a personal trainer, and so she actually had messaged me and was like, "Hey, I'd love to do a session with you." And we were able to make that happen. And it just from that has blossomed into a beautiful friendship. And as I've heard more of her story, which I'm excited that she's going to share with you today, I just know that there will be a lot of encouragement in it for others. So thank you, Faith, for taking the time to spend this evening with me.
I'm excited.
Okay, so we're just going to start out. I'd just like you to give us a little bit of your history. I know that you said you grew up as a missionary kid. And I kind of want to hear more about that, and then we'll kind of lead into where that took you in life. So
Okay.
take it away.
So I was born in Texas and lived there for 4 months of my life. And then when I was 5, we moved to the Philippines, to Mindanao, which is the southern island. It's middle of nowhere. We lived on and off missions base and then in villages with no electricity, no running water, like quintessential missionary life in a hut. And I have an older sister, younger brother. My mom homeschooled us, and it was
Okay.
a really great way to grow up, actually. Moved back to the States when I was 11, so I was middle
Okay.
school and lived in Ohio and then North Carolina.
So now, growing up obviously in a Christian family as a missionary kid, what did you love about that? Like, what parts of that were just really beautiful and life-giving? And then we'll flip to the other part, which is what parts of that
Okay.
were challenging.
I'd say the number one life-giving part was that my siblings and my mom, and sometimes my dad, when he wasn't in and out, were just solidly connected. We only had each other in a lot of places. And so we have like just family language we use and bits and pieces of other languages that we grew up around. And just a lot of memories, good memories of like game nights because we didn't have, entertainment or anything. We weren't connected. So
Right.
just a lot of like solid quality time together that made us need each other.
Mm.
And let's see, also just like not having to wear shoes for 6 years. That was pretty great. Just running wild, like we say, we were free range children, like just
Mhm.
all over doing what we wanted and yeah,
Okay,
good times.
that's neat. So then moving back
Mhm.
to the States when you were 11, was that a hard transition?
Yes,
Okay.
I did not know anything about US culture. I have a lot of, yeah, like hard memories of transitioning like straight into public school and middle school. And I looked like I should know what was happening, but I didn't. I
Okay.
looked like everybody else, but I was like a village child inside. So the girls, talking about shaving their legs, and I'm like, why would you do that? Why would you remove your body hair? Like, it just didn't make sense to me. Um, so yeah, all of that was very shocking, and I became a wallflower for a long time because I was just observing. So yeah,
Mm. Okay. And so
yeah.
was there always pressure for you as a missionary kid, obviously to be a good Christian girl? And like, is it similar to a pastor's kid?
Very much like we would, when we were on furlough or raising support, we would go to these churches and we'd have to sit in the front row and like be silent and good and happy. And people would say, I knew you when you were this big. And we just had to, you know, pretend we
So
cared.
I'm curious, like, if you remember as a child, what was your personal relationship with Jesus like? Like, at what point did you make that
Mm.
commitment for yourself? Because I too grew up in a Christian home. And so, I know like you kind of grow up in it and then at some point you own it. What did that look like for you?
Yes. I was 3 when I like asked Jesus in my heart, but I didn't understand it. I think I was always a journaler, so I would pray through journaling when I was a kid. I
Hmm.
still have some of those. And then I think really it wasn't mine till I was about 12. And I remember in a chapel session in a school, because I switched to a Christian school, really, oh, God is for me. He's for me, not just I'm a separate soul from my family.
Okay. And so then you grew up, you got married. Where did you meet your husband at?
At Toccoa Falls College in Georgia, a little
Okay.
school in the mountains.
But now you are a missionary in Thailand. And so
Yep.
was that, I have so many questions about that, but first, was returning to the mission field something that you just always knew that you would do? Or like, how was it that the Lord kind of called you to that
Mhm.
after growing up in that world?
Yeah, I remember a very specific moment. I was watching the news when I was 14 in North Carolina, watching about a war between Rwanda and Burundi and just weeping. I ran out onto the porch and I was like, there's so much suffering and I can do nothing about it. And God's spirit is saying so clearly, you will do something about the world's suffering, and I'm calling you to do that. And so, yeah, I've always had it in my mind I'd work with refugees or something. That has not happened as of yet,
Okay.
but
I know before Thailand, you were in, was it China?
mhm.
So tell me
Yeah,
about
wait.
that transition from return to life in the States, getting married, and then heading out. Is
Yeah,
that, if
so
that's
we
the
got
order that it happened in?
yeah, we graduated and then we got married a month later, and then 5 weeks later we moved to China.
Wow.
That was a
Okay.
crazy thing to do. And then we worked in a school there, and I worked in an orphanage and learned Chinese, and those were hard years. And then 3 years in, I had Jake, my first baby, in China. So, and then a
Okay.
year later, we knew he was not doing well, and we moved back to the States.
So, yeah, we're going to talk a lot about Jake. Jake is your oldest, and he was diagnosed with autism. And so when you said that those first few years in China were really hard, was it partly because of that, or was there something else? I mean, there's a lot of versions of hard,
Right.
so.
I'd say the first 3 years before I had Jake, it was hard culturally for me, and Northern China is a
Mhm.
very impersonal culture. I had a lot of city shock because we lived in a city of 11 million people with very little nature in a, high rises, and it was freezing cold, and it was just very different from my personality and what I expected my life to look like. So it's hard because of
Okay.
that. Jake was born lots of heart after that. So
What were some of the things that you noticed in the beginning with Jake that made you concerned?
I noticed from the very beginning, he was actually born with not a cleft, but a scar.
Mhm.
There's a whole story behind that too, but physically I knew, oh, something wasn't right for him. And then about 3 months in, I realized he didn't respond like other babies. He wouldn't look at my face. He wouldn't calm when I picked him up. He would get stiff and cry more. Other babies were starting to kind of facially interact with their moms, and he would just look past me. There was
Mhm.
no comforting him. He cried all the time, and I had some pretty bad postpartum. So I chalked it up to being a bad mom. So, but I knew something was wrong.
You're living in China and your baby's not doing well. So, was there things there to help you figure that out? I know you said you moved back to the States at that point.
That first year of his life, I was trying to get help and even asking foreign doctors and stuff, and everybody's like, "Oh, he's just a boy. He's just developing slowly." But I knew that something was off. He didn't smile till he was 5 months old, and that was like a
Mm.
strange, quick smile. And there was just a lot of things that I was like, I know this is off, but nobody would really believe me. That was one reason
That
we moved back.
that's a common tale, no matter where you live.
Yeah,
Is mom feels
that's
like,
true.
ooh,
Yeah.
something's not right, and everybody goes, oh, they're
Mhm.
just, every kid is different. Boys are different than girls. Yeah. So as you're in that space, if you remember back, and you don't have answers yet, but you know something's going on here. What did your dialogue with the Lord look like over that issue? And how did you feel? Like, what were the questions? How did you reconcile that?
I think it was just a lot of desperation, honestly, in those moments because he cried all the time and I wasn't sleeping and I had hormone craziness. And there were a lot of months of just, Lord, help. And that's kind of all I could say. I think it was a desperation relationship at that point and just asking God
Mm.
to help us.
And so, do you feel like God did help you?
I felt like his presence was yeah, I'm like, I don't know. He
That's a trick
I don't
question.
think there was like physical, no actual practical help came in, but it was like, I'm with you. And that
Mm.
did carry me through.
I think a lot of times we are looking for the answer to our specific prayer in a change in our circumstances or a healing or something, right? And so many times God just answers with his presence.
Mhm.
And sometimes it takes us a while to accept that that's all we're getting and to realize that that's all we need.
True.
So you moved back to the States. How long were you back in the States for?
We were there a total of 8 years before moving
Okay.
back here.
That's a long time.
My husband, yeah, my husband went to seminary. We got Jake officially diagnosed at 18 months after being on a waiting list for 6 months. So he started therapies
Okay.
at 13 months, actually.
Wow. So that's
And
a pretty
yeah,
early diagnosis.
because he's
Okay.
level 3 autism. So it was very clear something was up. So we lived in a single wide trailer and we loved our lives doing seminary. And my husband did that for 4 years. And then we did 2 years as house parents at an international boarding program. and
Okay.
had 14 teenage boys from Asia.
Wow.
And that was stretching its own thing. In the middle
Yeah.
there, I had my second son, Owen. He's
Okay.
17 today. So
Aw.
Jake is 19 right now. So lots of boys.
Right. And then I know you have a third son. Was he born after you came to Thailand?
Yeah, I was pregnant when we
Okay.
moved to Thailand and we had Titus here, and he's 9 now.
Okay.
So
So you must be quite the brave, adventurous girl because who moves to Thailand when they're
adventure.
pregnant, right?
I was like, I've already done it in China and I'll be fine.
Right. So you've been in Thailand now for about 10 years. Is that
Mhm.
huh, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, 10
Jake
years in a
is
few weeks. So.
okay. So Jake, level 3 autism. And how is that? Because for most of us, a lot of us have trials or special needs kids or things, but we do it in a country that we at least know the services, we know what's available. So, what is available for you, and how has that played out over the years?
I honestly would not recommend people willy-nilly moving overseas with a disabled child. We are in Chiang Mai, Thailand, and there is a school here. My kids go to international school, and they have a very small, limited program for special needs kids. It's one classroom for like all
Okay.
ages, and then they each have an aide, and they take them to classes. So Jake
Okay.
is mainly in the Rise classroom, and then he does OT, he does drawing class, he does Thai class, he does strength and conditioning. And his classmates have known him since fourth grade, and now he's a senior. So they're very sweet with him. He gets to go on senior trip with his dad in a few weeks. So
Fun.
they're all going to the beach. So yeah, it's been really
Okay.
amazing what he's had.
That is amazing. But I also know no matter how amazing it is, there's grief, right? There's a level of this isn't the way that I would have planned out my life. This isn't the story that I would have written. And so what has that grief or that struggle looked like for you over the years and the different seasons of Jake's life?
That's a good question. I think early on it was almost easier because there was a lot of anticipation and hope mixed in of
Mm.
like, oh, but he
Mhm.
could still develop and he could
Right.
still be
This
this
isn't
other
going to be
thing.
my lifelong story. This is
Right.
just a bump in the
Like
road.
exactly. I mean, he'll grow and he'll live independently and all this. I think as it's gone on and we've seen the realities of his limitations, that hope has diminished for practical change,
Mhm.
but also, yeah, the grief, it's hard to dive into because I think I told you recently that if I started crying, I would never stop. So I
Right.
think it's still very much just under the surface, this grief that I haven't
Mm.
had the time and energy to dive into fully. But I think as he gets older, the griefs more center around what he won't have that he should have,
Yeah.
connections, and he'll never be married and he'll never have kids and he'll never have a best friend. Like all those things that we take for granted in life as what we should have, Jake will always be a little bit alone. And that is really the most heartbreaking part.
I feel that. We're,
Bless
you know,
you.
we're a few years ahead of you, but not too many. And
Mhm.
I remember one day when Jonah was 16 and a postcard came in the mail from the DMV about it's time to enroll in driver's ed.
Mhm.
And it caught me so off guard because it just wasn't something that I was thinking about. And I remember looking at this postcard and then just weeping because it's that, oh, he's never going to drive. He's
Yeah.
not going to have those things. And so I feel that with you. When my daughter got married and he kept saying that he wanted to get married. First he wanted to get married to his sister and then he wanted to get married to me. And And
Mhm.
sometimes he'll pick other ladies that he wants to get married to, and usually they're already married. So we're like, yeah, no, that's not going to happen. But that grief, it
Yeah.
comes in waves, right? Oh, don't you start
Yeah, it
crying.
does. I know, don't do that. It's waves of, like, you see other people's kids, hitting these milestones, and it's like, oh, hits
Yeah.
deep.
I don't like to sugarcoat it. I don't want to make it sound like, oh, we're just going to put a God stamp on it and now everything's fine. But how does God meet you in the midst of that?
Mm. Something that my mom told me years and years ago when I was first starting out on this journey, and I was so consumed and wrapped up with how Jake was doing, and she told me, "You know that you are two separate souls before the Lord, and God cares for Jake
Mm.
more than you do, and he has Jake. Like, your life and soul does not depend on how Jake is doing. You are two separate souls." And that always has been something I've jumped back to, like, yes, God has purpose for Jake that really has nothing to do with me. And
Mm.
he has purpose for me that's not connected to Jake. And it's been very healing and just steadying for me.
Mm. That's beautiful. That can be a hard tension for a mom to hold, though,
Yes.
right?
Even with regular kids. Yeah.
Because we're often so wired for connection with our kids. And when the Lord gives us a kid with additional needs, we sometimes feel like we have to be their everything.
Mhm.
And that is a beautiful reminder that the Lord is saying, no, I'll be their everything,
Yeah, exactly.
which hopefully leads
Mhm.
us to a greater level of trust in the Lord,
Yeah.
but also less fear. I know the future is something that a lot of moms who have special needs kids, we struggle with, we worry about, we have fear
Mhm.
over. And
For
that's
sure.
something that I'm always reminding myself is that God will never leave me or forsake me, and that promise is for Jonah too. That
Yes.
even when I am no longer here, that God's promises are true for him. And
Mhm.
the other thing that I hold on to is the fact that this life is but a blink of an eye. And so, even if it's hard, and it is hard, and it will be hard, and even if Jonah's life is hard in the future, we have eternity with the Lord waiting for us where there's no more tears and no more broken dreams and no more shattered hopes, and everything is fulfilled. And so that gives me a lot of hope. So I know you mentioned your mom, and we've talked a little bit about that, but I know that you lost her. Do you want to share about that?
Sure. So, my mom was nurturing, tender, connected, attuned person. Like, before all of the psychobabble around how to be a good parent was available, she just knew it and lived it out and delighted in us. We always felt like
Mm,
her treasures. Even when we were misbehaving, she was on our side and very much for us as she
mm,
guided us. And when we moved back to the States from China, she was my lifeline and she was there whenever I needed her. And then I had Owen, and it was pretty soon after I had Owen, I got a phone call from her that the doctors had found something in her colon and that it was a very significant tumor. She had stage 4 colon cancer, and she fought it for 2.5 years and then passed
mm.
away when Owen was 2.5. So that was a very significant circumstance in my life that I struggled with the Lord over for a good 5 years, very much
Mm.
wrestling with God for answers and anger and just like, this makes no sense. So,
If you're willing, how did that play out for you? I mean, are we just talking about tears in the night and prayers in the shower? Like, what did that
Mhm.
struggle, how did it manifest in your life?
Mostly heart I describe it like I was a teenager with God.
Mm,
Like, I don't want you in my life because you are against me. And I
mm,
don't understand you and you don't understand me, but still living in his house. Like still knowing that I have the protection of his roof over me and his nest under me. I was aware of that. I was aware that I was his daughter still, but I was beating against his chest the whole time internally. All this was happening. I was going through mission training to move to Thailand. So like I knew that this was my life, that I love Jesus and I wanted him to be made known, but I also didn't like him at the same time.
mm.
And it was very much like I was a teenager internally.
That's a
And then
perfect
on the other,
analogy.
yeah. I know you love me and you'll protect me and I don't like you.
Right.
And yeah.
Because I don't understand your rules. I don't understand why
Mhm.
you required this loss of me.
Mm.
And so,
Yeah.
did you come to a point where you made peace with God over it, or did time just pass and your heart soften, or what did that look like?
I I ended up having Titus. We moved to Thailand. I was in the midst of that, like, I will not ask you for anything because you're going to do what you want to do anyway. That
Mm,
attitude. So I talked to God regularly, but it was very much like, I will not dare to ask you for anything because you're just going to disappoint me. And there was a moment I had had Titus. He was a newborn. I was breastfeeding him on the
mm.
couch in my little dank house with cockroaches. This first house we lived in was rough. And I was reading scripture, Psalms, because Psalms was all I could read for a good few years. Like I just
Mm.
didn't have a taste for anything else. And
I think that's why he left us the Psalms.
I think so.
Yeah.
So
Sometimes it's the
Psalm,
only
I
thing
was
that
yeah.
fits.
I'm like, yes, David, he's not very nice. I was thinking just I'm gonna look up the psalm that I read that day and read it to you because
Okay.
it was such a change of my perspective. So I'm breastfeeding my baby and I read Psalm 131. O Lord, my heart is not lifted up, my eyes are not raised too high. I do not occupy myself with things too great and too marvelous for me. But I have calmed and quieted my soul like a weaned child with its mother. Like a weaned child is my soul within me. O Israel, hope in the Lord from this time forth and forevermore. And I was in the midst of, right before that, just questioning God and angry and wrestling with Him. Like, why don't you give me answers? Like, I'm a big girl. Like, I can understand this. And just the reading that, like, my eyes are not too haughty. I don't consider myself wise enough basically to understand your answers. And then I look down at my baby that's breastfeeding and I'm like, so I'm supposed to be like a weaned child. Like, what does that mean? And just thinking my baby, when he comes to me, he wants something from me. Like I'm always wanting something from God, like give me those answers. But God wants me to be like a weaned child, which is I am here to sit on your lap and let you love me. And that is the whole purpose. Your love and your presence. Um,
Mm.
Not answers, not outcomes, just presence. And it was such a like not a placation. It was like a such a comfort and understanding of like you cannot understand this, sweet girl. You cannot just be with me. And that was so healing that it was like he was almost like, look, I can love you just like your mom did if you let me. You cannot understand these answers because you're not me. And that was it was like a turn in my perspective from that point.
That has application for a lot of us, I think, because you're right.
Yeah.
We want so much for it to make sense in our little brains. And the Lord is saying, my ways are not your ways. My thoughts are not your thoughts. And just trust me. But it's hard when we want our own way. It's hard when we want our mother back. It's,
Mm. Yeah.
yeah. Well, that's beautiful. I know there's another psalm that means a lot to you. And when you described it to me, I found it so beautiful and inspiring. And it comes from Psalm 42 verse 7 where it talks about deep calls to deep. And when you described to me the verses before that and what it meant to you, I think that other people will find that inspiring as well. Would you share what the Lord showed you through that verse?
Sure. Yes, it's so meaningful. I got it tattooed on my arm. So, uh, deep calls to deep. So, at the beginning of Psalm 42, it's the very common verse. As the deer pants for water, so my soul longs after you. And the psalmist is saying, I'm dying of thirst. I can't get any moisture. What are you going to do about this? And a few verses later, he's drowning. He's completely consumed in the waterfall of God. And I know there's a lot of interpretations of that, what it could mean, but in that moment, it was like such a clear, just, I'm here, just dive in, just let go, and I can be all around you. Um, I was so dry and so desperate. And I had a picture of like holding up this glass in my hand and saying, fill it. And God saying, put the glass down. I am all around you. You just be aware. Um, and so, yeah, the depth of my need, the depth of my thirst was so completely filled with his depths. So my
Mm,
deep was calling to his deep. And it's, I know there's a lot of ways to read that verse, but
right?
that has been something I've held on to. He can fulfill me.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's beautiful. I think that that contrast that you shared about I'm so thirsty for you. I'm dying over here. and
Mhm.
and then that transition. And I think the reality is that we ebb and flow back and forth from those places. It's not always okay, now I'm in the waterfall of the Lord and everything's going to be good. Uh, It sometimes from our perception, it feels like it's dried up again. And
Mhm.
I think that that's where maturity in the Lord and having walked through enough trials, you begin to realize that, okay, He's always here. My perception of Him changes sometimes, and my experience of Him can ebb and flow. But the faith to know that His presence is with me even when I don't feel it. And even when I'm back at the place where I'm dying of thirst and feel like, where are you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, what does the presence of the Lord look like, or feel like, or affect you?
I think it helps me see the bigger picture, um, that I can stay calm in the present because he's already in the future. He was in the past with me. He sees the whole thing. And so it helps me be able to kind of zoom out from the moment of anxiety or overwhelm to say, this isn't the whole story where you are right now, and it's okay.
Mhm. What would you say to the woman who feels dry and thirsty right now?
He's already there. He
Mm,
is already fully there. And just to be aware, drown yourself in his word because
mm.
he's in it. He's in it.
I know I need that reminder all the time. I want to switch gears just a little bit and talk a couple things about, firstly, I mean, you're a missionary in Thailand. You're tan, and I know sometimes when we Marco Polo and I hear the birds chirping in the background and like, and it what? No, it's fine. But it can be easy to look at a glimpse of somebody else's life and think, wow, how exotic,
Mhm.
how exciting, but what is it that people might assume about your life that would be incorrect? And what does life
Yeah.
and ministry on the mission field in Thailand with 3 kids and a special needs son actually look like on the day to day for you?
Yeah, I mean, I still wake up early and stumble to get coffee, and I still get the kids out the door while they're grouchy, and I still clean the toilets, and I still do the laundry. But my washing machine's outside, and the ground is slippery because of algae, and I have to hang up my clothes in the sun to dry because there's no dryer, and like there's still like life to juggle. I still have to sign field trip forms and coordinate everybody's play dates and how to get this kid there and drive there. And
Right.
there's still the chaos of life and another language and culture and markets to go to instead of, one place to get everything. And there's,
Right.
sewer problems and like, there's still life.
Right.
Yeah.
And what does ministry look like for you guys in that space?
Yeah. So my husband is the Asia area leader for our organization. So he does most of his work currently is online and traveling to visit people,
Okay.
make sure that teams are healthy. But we also do, my husband gets to visit these old guys in a nursing home and encourage them weekly. And we do like a Bible study, Thai Bible study. And I do personal training. So that doesn't sound like a
Yeah.
ministry to people, I think, but
No, but I want you to tell us more about that because I think that's a fascinating ministry. I think so often ministry has to begin with a felt need or a connection that is not just, hey, by the way, let me tell you about Jesus. But when we
right.
build relationships through something that somebody feels like, hey, I need your expertise in this area, and it just opens up the door for relationship, which can open up the door for the gospel. And so tell us how
Mhm.
I want to know like how that first began to happen for you because you haven't always been a personal trainer. So
Oh,
what got you started in this and then how did you transition it into a part of your ministry?
so beginning, my dad has osteoporosis, and about 4 years ago, I was like, oh, I'm 42. I need to get on this. So I started strength training for my bone density. And I just really loved it. The change of mindset from be as small as you possibly can to building something and being strong and like having goals of going up in weights instead of just looking at the scale for my identity or whatever. And I loved that aspect. I loved the aspect of being able to measure my growth. I have an app that I track how much I can lift and I see progress and it's exciting.
Mm,
Um, and then my trainer one day was like, there's a lot of women here that would use this, but he said he didn't feel comfortable training all these older ladies because he's like a 20-year-old guy. And I was like,
mhm.
huh. He's like, maybe you should do this. And I laughed it off. I was like, that is no, I'm not
And this is
athletic.
in
I'm not.
Thailand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
I was like, that's so funny. Ha ha ha. And then just like stayed in my heart. I was like,
Mm,
there's so many women, especially perimenopause, menopause, women
mhm.
that would have so much to gain from this knowledge, and I have it. So why am I hoarding it? So I went and got trained and certified and
Okay.
started doing it just for donation because I want them to donate to have some kind of buy into it. It's
Right,
not really
right.
about the money at all. Actually, most of my clients are other missionaries here, but then
Okay.
I have a good portion that are other internationals that are not believers or Thai people. And
Okay.
so cool to see how people open up in that setting. I think about going to a beauty salon and how people just kind of spill their guts to the person cutting their
Right.
hair. That's what it's like training. I've had
Okay.
so many crying sessions and prayer sessions in that gym um,
Wow.
because it's something about the physicality of it that people just everything comes out. They tell me about their lives. They'll tell me about, I'm going through this thing with my husband or this
Mhm.
problem in my family. And it's amazing to me how people open up and they're so raw and ready to hear hope.
What
So
a
it's
what a
been
neat
huge.
ministry. I would love if you're willing to give us a little bit of free advice. Many of our
Sure.
listeners are either special needs moms or women
Mhm.
who are just in a hard season, right? I mean, that's what we talk about a lot here on the Beauty and the Real podcast is sometimes real life is really hard. And so all of us, though, I don't think anyone is naive to the fact that our physical health matters and that we should be trying. And so, to the mom who feels overwhelmed with life and hardship or whatever it is that she's dealing with, but knows that she needs to start exercising, where should she start?
I would say start looking up on YouTube a body weight at home workout and just be
Okay.
consistent with that if that's all you have time for.
Okay.
Also, start with nutrition, protein. Eating more protein will help you in a lot of areas. So
Okay.
I know
And
everybody
so,
says that.
but you heard it here from Faith. It's actually true.
Yes.
Protein and so when you say body weight, so not like lifting actual
Like
weights, but
if you have
squats,
weights at home, do
push-ups.
it. Yeah.
Okay. And when you say consistency, just for the beginner here, do you mean every day, 7 days a week? Do you mean
No.
what do you mean by consistency?
2 to 3 days a week is a great place to be, even long term, and to
Okay.
make sure you're getting a little cardio in there. And then also, rest days are super important. So take those days that you're resting.
That one's for me. I think I need rest. I'm on this
Yes.
kick of, my fitness tracker, it has these challenges. And so I
Mhm.
joined the challenge of doing 300,000 steps in the month of February, except that
Okay.
February only has 28 days. So it's more than 10,000 steps a day. And February
Oh
is
man.
about half over and I'm not sure if I'm going to make it. And yesterday I was thinking to myself, I think I probably need a rest day. But if I take a
Mhm.
rest day, I won't make it to the 300,000. Anyways,
It's okay.
yeah. But also, I haven't been lifting weights or doing the other things that I know that I should do
Mhm.
because I'm so focused on doing the staying challenge and getting those steps. So it's probably not the best way to do it.
Yeah. Do whatever's doable long term. That's really like if you can get to a gym and do heavy weights, that will be really good for bone density. But if you cannot, do something.
Does the workout for you personally, like, is there a spiritual component in terms of our bodies being the temple of the Lord or shepherding our strengths? Like, how can you
Mhm.
encourage other believers to take that step?
I think spiritually, there are so many parallels between our physical strength and health and our spiritual. And so when I'm working out, I'm reminded of it all the time. Like, man, this is hard. I don't want to do this. And
Mm.
saying, but I can. And I will. And like doing the hard things because I know that I need it. That's a direct parallel to so many things in our lives and spiritually
Right.
as well. And even the rest day thing, like God made us to need cycles of work and rest. And why would working out be any different? There was at the beginning, especially, a lot of spiritual healing almost with my workouts because I can't even explain it in words necessarily. It was like I was working so hard to build something instead of looking right in society or something. Like my
Mm.
perspective changed, and God reminded me that my body is a beautiful thing. It's made to be used like by myself for strength and for growth. And it's not something to be judged. It's not something to be ogled. It's its own thing that he made on purpose. And I was able to overcome a lot of that self hatred that women develop. Oh, I hate my
Mm.
thighs. I hate this and that. And just thinking, but it's functional and it's strong and it's mine. And like,
Mm.
I can use this body for amazing things in other people's lives and in my life. And it's not about what I looked like in that picture last week. Like
Right.
it really helped me change what my body is for in my mind.
Wow, that's cool. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
So, before we wrap up, I know that you said Jake, your son, is graduating. Is it this year?
Yes.
So, how does that transition happen there in Thailand? And is that going to affect your guys' long-term plans there?
Very much so. Yeah, he graduates in May, and then we have a wonderful lady coming in July. She gets here in July, and she's going to do a year of life skills with Jake. I don't know what exactly that's going to look like, but we're excited to have her. And then next year, 2027, Owen graduates, our second son. And at that point, we have to make a lot of big decisions whether to move back to the US, get Jake into the system there, and get him connected to resources, which we are not very well versed in, or to go back, get my middle son in college for a year, we'd stay, and then come back here. And we're toying with, praying through, talking to people about starting a ministry for adults with disabilities, doing vocational training for Thai
Okay.
adults. So it's big.
Is
Yeah.
is there a significant need for that in Thailand in terms of
Yes.
is there a lot of special needs kids and adults?
There are a good number. We don't know really truthfully what it is because they're kind of hidden away. A lot of
Mm,
times you just
yeah,
don't see special needs people out and about very often because of the karma issue. Like if you have a special needs child, clearly you have bad karma from another life, and there's a lot of shame around it.
I've definitely experienced that in certain cultures. It's so heartbreaking for the kids though.
Yes,
Yeah.
very much.
Yeah. Well, I will be praying that the Lord just continues to lead you guys. I've loved just hearing pieces of your journey, and I think that there's parts of it that so many different women from different walks of life can kind of grab hold of. So, my last question for you is now in this season, in this season, where are you seeing beauty in the real?
I really think it is in Jake's affectionate spirit. He is
Mm,
so unique. I know a lot of people with autism struggle with physical affection and it can be hard. But Jake is so, he wants to be touching us all the time. And I
mhm,
know that could be annoying for some people, but really found a lot of joy in his desire to be close and to hold on to me
mhm,
and put his face on my face all the time. And like, just, he wants closeness, he wants connection, and that's how he can get it. And I used to be a little irritated by it because I'd be trying to get something done and he would want me right next to him. And it's
mhm,
hard, if you're trying to get a task done. But the more I've leaned into he's lonely and he wants companionship and putting down my phone and putting down the dishes and putting down all the things and sitting with him and
mhm.
being present for the repetitive questions and being
Mhm.
present for the intense snuggles and all the humidity here. It's actually brought me a lot of joy to be like, "Oh, he desires connection," and I love that about him.
Yeah.
So, that's
Yeah.
been a lot of joy. Mm.
That's beautiful. I love that. And it's a good reminder for a lot of us, you know. I think the way you put it, put down the phone, put down the dishes.
Mhm.
Like our kids need us to look them in the
Mhm.
eyes, to be fully present with them. And that is a gift to them, but it's also a gift to us, even when it feels like it's draining and it's a lot. It's part of the calling that the Lord has on our life, and there is blessing and beauty in it. So thank you so
Yeah.
much for sharing. I'm so excited for other people to listen and to hear just your journey and the way that the Lord has met you in it. And I think it inspires a lot of us that He will continue to meet us in our hard seasons as well.
And,
Would, would you be willing to just say a quick prayer for our listeners?
sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
No problem. Father, we are so grateful that you see us and they're with us in our daily everything, that you see the big picture and you see the moment that we're in right now. I just pray that each of the listeners would be able to be aware of your presence, to acknowledge you in their moments, that they would find a lot of comfort and joy in that. I pray that you would highlight for them the beauty in their situations, each of them, that they'd be able to see something very clearly today that is a gift in the midst of the really, really hard things. Lord, please give each of them the presence of mind and the ability to really soak in your beauty and your gifts every day. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you so much.
Mhm. Thank you. That was fun.